We've juiced up our very own paranormal flux capacitor and set our haunted DeLorean to travel back in time. Back to some of the paranormal pop culture's most terrifying and memorable cases.
The encounter could create a time paradox, the results of which could cause a chain reaction that would unravel the very fabric of the space-time continuum and destroy the entire universe.
It's time to hit rewind and re-examine the evidence. It's time for Paranormal Rewind. Paranormal Rewind. With your ghostly duo of the airwaves, author Sam Baltrusis and paranormal tech guru Keith Bailey.
And welcome to Paranormal Rewind. My name is Sam Baltrusis, and I'm an author and journalist. Joining me is my good friend and co-host, Keith Bailey. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Sam. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing great. So I'm working on the Wicked Virtual Film Festival is coming up this Halloween. So it's October 30th through the 31st. We are running it. So paranormalrewind.com/filmfest for more details about the film fest. Also, looking forward to the upcoming DarkZone.tv event on board the Queen Mary.
Oh, I know. I want to go so bad.
Well, Keith, you can go virtually.
Well, I got to talk to Susan about that. I need her to be taken care of. I want to get there. I got to make it happen.
Yeah, so the DarkZone.tv is happening again, so it's going to be a 4-day event on board the Queen Mary. In addition to having, like we talked about with Susan Slaughter last week, investigations, there's a lot of bands performing as well. There's going to be a costume contest. There's all sorts of things happening this Halloween on the DarkZone.tv, so get your tickets as soon as possible. So speaking of the Dark Zone's event at the Queen Mary, our upcoming guests are going to be featured on that as well. We have Tony and Cherie Rathman. We're going to learn more about their backstory on the show. Welcome to the show, Tony and Cherie Rathman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. So I was recently on your Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence show. I love being on it. I love the teams that you guys work with. What's the inspiration behind the show, and what has been some of the standout evidence that you've presented on the Entity Voices?
Sure, I'll be happy to talk about that. Well, one of the main purposes for it was to really highlight all the other investigators out there that capture just phenomenal evidence. And we wanted to share that in a way that they could see it, hear it, and experience it as if they were, browsing local YouTube channels or the internet, as well as having whoever captured it on the show to discuss where they captured it, how they captured it. So it's been extremely successful for us. As far as highlights of evidence, we've had phenomenal stuff from Brandon Elvis. He captured an apparition on the Queen Mary. It was spectacular. We had Ron Iacovetti show also evidence captures from the Queen Mary. We've had Rick McCollum on, who showed some amazing evidence captured both here in the States and in Scotland. We had Dave Spinks on, who had the most amazing shadow figure capture I've ever seen. It was phenomenal.
And of course, Sam showed also a good evidence on the shadow figure.
Yep. We've had a phenomenal audience. Keith was on as well, had some great captures he got out at Gettysburg and a bunch of other places. Michelle LeBaron. I mean, I could just go on and on. Everybody just what has been fantastic and shared just amazing paranormal captures.
Right. To add to that, what's amazing also, this is totally different. It's a raw video capture evidence from the fellow investigators, and it's not like you're on the television show. It's
talking about yourself, right?
Correct.
The whole point was to highlight what all these other fantastic investigators are out there doing and capturing.
Well, I'll tell you, so the picture that I showed on your program was a picture of like what looked like it's the lady in the blue dress. So there's that we've experienced in Salem over and over again about what the whole backstory with her. She was supposedly murdered in the 1800s because she was pregnant, and her boyfriend kind of flipped on her and then basically killed her. And she's been haunting Rockefeller's, which is on the corner of Washington Street in Essex, for years. Now, we as tour guides have told that story over and over again. And my theory with her, I don't think she's historically accurate in the sense that I don't think that there was ever a lady in the blue dress. However, I think that maybe we have created her like a tulpa, and she now exists as, you know, as an entity that we saw in that photo. Have you guys?
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, with that many people hearing the story and it being talked about on your tours, you could have very easily conjured the apparition or tulpa by everybody talking about it. And the fact that she showed up in one of your photos, that was amazing.
Yep.
Now, Keith Bailey, what the photos that you showed Tony and Cherie on their show, was it the from our investigation in Gettysburg?
Well, some of them were, and the great ones that we love, me and you, was from Fort Mifflin. And that's when I had the woman in the back that said, "We need some help here real quick." And then as I'm hearing that, I'm just taking pictures 360 style, and I get that what looks like, I mean, it looks like a perfect square, like a doorway. And then in the very next picture, there's nothing there. Right. So it, like, she said it in that moment and came through, and then there's nothing there. And me and John and a woman went to look for this lady, like, is there somebody here? And then there's no one. But that was really to put two parts together. But I did show Tony and Cherie some of the pictures from Gettysburg with that capture, and I got to tell you, that was almost just angelic. It was of what the noise we heard. Oh, wow. It takes my breath. Every time I think about that, that was an amazing picture. For sure.
That's amazing capture.
Yeah, those were great photos. And there's so much information in there to read and second guess as to what's going on. But you're absolutely right, Keith. Those were fantastic.
So I want to ask about, as we've kind of touched on, Tony, are you able to just give us a little bit of the insight about the EVOCs, as far as, you know, what you're able to kind of tell us, and how basically what kind of intel you're getting from it as to date?
Sure. We started building spirit boxes about 10 years ago. And of course, our group being called Entity Voices, we've just been absolutely fascinated with spirit communication. And when we first started out, we were very lucky and would get EVPs on a regular basis, and really good EVPs, Class A. Now we've had others that are B, C, and some even worse than that. But you know, the ones that you could clearly hear the voice, you could hear the tone of voice, you could tell whether it was man or a woman, you could tell if they had an accent, you could clearly tell what language they're speaking in. That was fascinating to me, knowing that Cherie and I were the only two people in the building, and it wasn't possible to be picking those up. That's how it started. Well, then we moved 11 years ago, got our first SP7, and it was fascinating to me because I would review these with such intensity that I could hear every response. And over the years, of course, your ear becomes trained and you can pick them out easier. But what I didn't like was the white noise sound that they claimed was necessary to allow the spirits to speak. So we set off on a course to develop a box that did not have that distracting, headache-causing, white rushing sound. And we created a couple of different boxes, probably 6 or 8 of them, as we improved it. And then we created what was known as the EVOX. And it literally stands for Entity Voices Box, but we shortened it to EVOX. And the first one used a whole variety of circuitry, of everything from what's found in, using spring reverb to, the circuitry found in a Frank's box to And then we made improvements year after year, taking things out that didn't work, putting things in that we knew worked really well. And it started to communicate in a manner that was beyond anything we had heard before. And the last upgrade to it was producing voices without any white noise sound. So when the voices came through, they were clear. It wasn't hidden by the white noise hissing. And then over the last 6 weeks, we have created a brand new one, which we call the Evox 2.0 version. And I just released the last 2 days, the first 2 tests from it on our Facebook page. And I'm thoroughly impressed with what I've heard so far. I mean, the answers come through relatively quickly. There's not a lot of waiting. The answers are direct responses to the questions we ask. Spirits saying hello, spirits saying what they're doing, giving us messages. We're quite impressed with what we've seen so far. And of course, we're bringing this to the Queen Mary and hoping for unbelievable results from it.
So my first experience with the Evox, or watching you and Cherie doing that, using it in action, was the Dark Zone at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Now, I was able to actually be at the Lizzie Borden to investigate. I did sort of like a tweak on the Estes method, but I did it with with sort of a different approach to it. But then I saw what you and Cherie were doing with the Evox, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get one of those.
Well,
I know that people.
Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
No, I know that there's a long list for people that want the Evox.
Yeah, we've definitely had great response for it, and if I actually had the time to build them from a production standpoint, we'd be happy to. But they do take time, and right now, unfortunately, we don't have it to put into production for builds. But loved what you did at the Lizzie Borden house using the Estes method, and I know there was a request for that to use the Evox with the Estes method, and so we incorporated the circuitry to allow it to handle headphones, noise-canceling headphones, and not come through the speakers, although everything else still functions. So we're excited to try that as well.
So to kind of give you some backstory with your findings at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast, so there was multiple investigators asked their spirit boxes questions, and you and Cherie also asked questions using the Evox, and some of the responses were kind of startling. So can you recap what you guys found in that investigation at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast?
Absolutely. We took 5 different paranormal investigators throughout the country. Myself and Cherie, Colin Broen, Chris Fleming, Ken DaCosta, and who am I missing?
I forgot.
Maybe it was 4. But anyway, we all asked. It was the anniversary of the murders that happened at the Lizzie Borden house. The death, obviously, of Andrew and
Abby.
Abby, thank you. I drew a complete blank of Abby Borden, and it was actually the 100th and some year anniversary. So we developed 10 questions, and we had each of the investigators ask the exact same questions. And then we had them record it, and then I cut it down into each question and then played the responses from each of the investigators. And you're right, there was some incredible information that came through. They weren't all identical or similar in their responses, but you could tell that there was, well, to me, there was a sense of cover-up even in the afterlife of what occurred. But, I mean, there was information given about neighbors being involved, about Bridget being involved, about her uncle being involved in the murders. And it was absolutely fascinating to me to be able to get that many different perspectives and answers from the questions, and then, of course, try to figure out what truly happened. But it was an incredible experience, and I think anybody who has seen it or wants to see it should go to the Dark Zone and check it out, because it's pretty cool.
Hey, Keith, can you?
Yeah.
I'm having some background noise.
I know, that's okay. Hey, Tony, so I got a question for you going along with the EVOX. So as you get more in depth with the actual per se research side of the paranormal, which was one of the things I truly respect about you, and you're doing some of the voice communications, have you included and kind of contrasted other type of equipment, say like an EDI meter, along with the EVOX of that actual intelligent spirit communication to see if they then will react with that and get maybe where you're having like 2 points of be it voice communication and actual equipment interaction? Have you ever done that?
Absolutely. We do own an EDI machine data logger, and yes, you can track differences in humidity, pressure, electromagnetic frequency, and of course many other things, and it records it to an SD card. So yes, we've done that. The new EVOX 2.0 also has gauges in it and a display module that will let us know exactly what hertz or kilohertz, what frequency the voices are coming in at, to help us try to determine. We've noticed over the years of doing EVPs that they're usually between 100 and 300 megahertz that the EVPs come in at. Well, now this device will literally show us what hertz or megahertz they're coming in at as they're speaking.
So that's really interesting, because is it ever a time that when you're as you're doing that, you take it to that next step and even say, like, where are you right now? Are you able to touch this device? What time in the universe is it to you? And the other things, you get some like real, almost them saying, I'm next to you or I'm behind you, because that goes on to that next question. Have you then been able to get actual interaction with the equipment and the EVOX, and then even moreover take anomalies where you could either video them or actual still frames of actual that between the three? Have you ever had that where you've put those three together?
Yes, we have. In fact, we have data collection and EVPs and other devices that were being used from a private home investigation we did, all being captured with a night vision camera. And as we're trying to find out who was in the house and who this family was complaining about, the spirit actually left us an EVP as we were walking away from our equipment, which made the EDI do all sorts of crazy stuff and captured while it left the EVP, and it told us that our night vision camera was not recording. And in fact, when I got everything back home and went through it, he was absolutely right. The camera did not record anything.
I would list that as a actual intelligent response. That's what makes you a rock star, Tony.
Well, thank you. But yeah, you can't argue with that. I mean, he literally, as we're trying to capture evidence that something was there, he literally told us, your camera's not working.
All right, guys. So something that I didn't mention at the very front of the show, how did you get involved with the paranormal? Like, what's your backstory, and what led you down this path, which seems to be very technical when it comes to the science of paranormal investigation?
Yeah, it's actually, and I'll keep it brief, but I was a complete skeptic 11 years ago.
Right.
And Cherie was not. Cherie grew up in the Philippines. She had constant communication from relatives, parents. The culture of the Philippines is very, very religious and very aware of afterlife presence and paranormal experience. Sure. So Cherie kind of grew up with that. And so when we met, she always wanted me to watch the ghost adventure shows, and she'd try. I'd sit down for a couple of minutes and I couldn't sit any longer. And I'd say, okay, yeah, this is great. Enjoy it. I'm leaving. Well, then one Valentine's Day, she asked me to, she wanted to do something different for Valentine's Day. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She said, I want to go ghost hunting. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. But to appease her, I said, okay. And I went online, found a location that had a haunted history, bought some cheap equipment for her, a night vision camera, EMF meter, and said, let's go see what you can get. And we went, and she captured just incredible things. And my father was a physics teacher, chemistry teacher, physical science teacher, so everything was science-based, and this fell outside of it. And until we went, that's when she dragged me down the path, and we've been doing it 11 years later.
That's really fascinating. With the so my dad, who recently passed, he was a history teacher. So sort of like my passion for the history of the paranormal comes from my father. So it's interesting that you kind of took that scientific route based on your father's work in the physics area.
Right. And some of the toughest questions I've ever had to answer came from my own dad. Well, how's that? How are you catching it? Well, how does that work?
So based on when we talked on the entity on the show, I got that you're sensitive. Do you feel like that you're sensitive to the paranormal? Like are you like clairvoyant? What's your take on the spirits, and do you see them?
Well, kind of, no, not really a sensitive person. Different sensitive, though.
You're a sensitive person, just not to the paranormal.
Right. That's why it's hard. It's tough for me. That question is very tough for me. But anyway, no, I'm not. In the paranormal, I'm not that sensitive. But there are times, especially when we go to our hospital, the Copper Canyon Research Center, the moment I stepped into that door, I get this goosebump, and I'm feeling them, but I don't know whether is that sensitive or whatnot. But
you can tell when they're there, though.
Right. So yeah, but I am not that sensitive.
You can feel them. I don't think either one of us would consider ourselves sensitive.
Right. Chris Allgood is a sensitive one.
Yeah, Chris is.
So I got a question for you on that note, and Sam's, I know, has had this before as well. With the fact of you being able to feel them and how we correlate that with what we use in equipment and stuff. Tony, what is your thoughts on some of the paranormal equipment in general? And are we actually communicating with spirits? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, that's a question that, the whole paranormal community begs to answer. All I can tell you for sure is that we get direct responses. The responses answer the questions we ask. How that exactly happens, I don't know those answers yet. But I can tell you I'm not picking up stray radio waves. Stray radio waves do not curse. They do not speak in Tagalog. They do not say my first and last name. So the evidence is there that whatever I'm receiving, whether it be spiritual, extraterrestrial, third dimensional, don't always know. And that's half the guessing game of working within the paranormal.
And that's Tony, why somebody like yourself is so well respected, because the people who follow you, at least the smart ones, are knowing what you're doing out there is actual research, and you're getting results that us in the paranormal are able to use even further on our investigations, and that's good stuff, my brother.
So guys, we're about to go on break, but Cherie, I must add, so the fact that you're getting goosebumps when you're walking into a haunted location, that to me is like I think you do have some sensitivity to the paranormal.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
And if we ever meet up in person, I would love to work with you on that, because I do think that you have some gifts when it comes to that. But we'll see in the future. For me, it's kind of a scary thing to have, to be able to find the ghost in the room.
Trust me, when he says that, he's not kidding.
All right, guys, about to go on break. We're talking to Tony and Cherie Rathman. We'll be back after the break with Paranormal Rewind.
This is Paranormal Rewind with Sam Baltrusis and Keith Bailey, your weekly 1-hour fix to the stories behind the stories.
That sounds kind of crazy.
Join us in chat with questions at www.kcorradio.com or hit us up at our hotline at 702-425-9230.
Call now.
now.
That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers, find us on Skype at KCOR Radio.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
More mind-bending and engaging thoughts as well as insights into the stories that have shaped the paranormal. After this.
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1, the reader's favorite Gold Medal Award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019. The action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Radio signal.
Looking for cutting-edge conversations while exploring quantum possibilities? Then look no further.
We've got to fix it. Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. They're connecting the dots and unraveling the cosmic mysteries with interviews from top experts, embedded insiders, and whistleblowers from around the world on an array of topics from health, wellness, consciousness, and ufology, all in pursuit of
The truth.
Broadcast Team Alpha, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Live Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting in the world today, and the old paradigm is being replaced with a new one filled with love, positivity, and prosperity for all. The only question you have to ask yourself: are you ready for a change?
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Come explore the quantum possibilities.
Great. It's great. I think it's great. I think it's
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
In an imperfect world, the last thing you need to worry about should be surprisingly high auto insurance rates or life insurance. At American Elite Agency, we understand it's tough out there. And with over 20 years of experience, we're here to help. We work with numerous insurance companies to get you the best possible rates. For a quote or more information, call American Elite Agency at 702-245-4572. That's 702-245-4572. American Elite Agency, a name you can trust in troubled times.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy, Kent Dunn, and Gary Parson. Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Vegas, baby! Vegas' #1 source for talk and new music.
How cool is that?
Receiving transmission. Commence radio program sequence. Channel check.
Right channel. Frequency check. Frequency check complete. All frequencies clear.
Welcome back to Paranormal Rewind, where we get the story behind the story.
Oh, sweet.
Join the discussion live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com. Call the show and share your thoughts at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Those around the world connect with us on Skype at KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Follow us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. And now, back in time with your historical mystics of the paranormal, Sam Baltrusis and Keith Bailey.
And welcome back to Paranormal Rewind. We're having a great conversation with Tony and Cherie Rathman about the upcoming Queen Mary events with Darkzone.tv. Also, if you guys are listening to the show on KCOR Live, go down to the bottom of the websites and click the donate button. Any money that we raise during the show will go directly for the cost for production of this awesome radio show, Paranormal Rewind. So, Tony and Cherie, we're talking a little bit about the upcoming Queen Mary investigation in California. So, tell me, how did you get involved with the Dark Zone as investigators?
Sure. Well, I'm trying to think back. We've actually been involved through connections both with the Dark Zone and the other producers that are involved in making this stuff happen for the Dark Zone. But they're all wonderful people, and it's like a big family, all of them, every single one of them involved. And we started doing just some little things. They had expressed some interest in some of the things we were making, in some of the places that we operate. The families that we've been helping over the years for personal home and business investigations to clear out spirits. So it's been an evolving relationship, but a wonderful one. Mm-hmm. And we were involved in the Conjuring House Live, the Lizzie Borden, which of course was done virtually because of the whole COVID thing. But we actually have an opportunity, because we do live on the West Coast, to actually get to go to the Queen Mary during the 4-day live, and we're excited as can be because the ship is empty. It's been vacant since March of 2020. There's nobody on it, and to have that opportunity to interact with I think Peter James said 600 spirits that are on the Queen Mary. Right. We've been and investigated it before, but of course it was packed with people.
Mm-hmm. Maybe on Halloween, it will be totally different
atmosphere. Absolutely. And they're probably missing people being around because there haven't been any. So it's an unbelievable opportunity, and we thank the Dark Zone for that, and we're thoroughly looking forward to it.
I will say that the veil between the living and the dead does lift on Halloween or Samhain, as we call here up in the Massachusetts, or the Wiccan community. But from my experience, I will say that I don't have a lot of experience with the Queen Mary, but I've spent a lot of time on the USS Salem, which is in Massachusetts. And when it comes to haunted vessels, any idea of why vessels would be haunted, say other grounded locations?
Well, I'm sure there's individual reasons for each ship or boat that is, but if you look at the Queen Mary's history, it started out as a luxury cruise liner, and then it was used in World War II to transport soldiers back and forth. At one time it was used to bring POW captured military people back. It ran over one of the ships that was actually protecting it. I think there were 240 people on it when it actually cut it in half. And a lot of those people that were on that ship were actually sucked underneath the boat, and rumor has it were chopped up by the huge propellers on the back of the Queen Mary. But there's so much history to the boat. There's so many different time periods and reasons why people were on it and suffering or being unfortunately killed, or whatever reason. It's those histories that I think keep the paranormal experiences happening and occurring on the ship. Then the boat's floating in water, and anybody who's familiar with paranormal knows the impact running water or water in general can have on paranormal activity. So I think it becomes a floating island for paranormal when occurrences like that have occurred.
Yeah, I definitely think that the water definitely amplifies the hauntings, and also from the U.S. Asylum, we weren't able to smudge the U.S. Asylum. There couldn't be any flames on board, so there was an issue of like we really couldn't cleanse it properly, like to get rid of any negative entities. So I definitely think there is a potential for the Queen Mary to be very active with its original ghost, plus stuff that may have developed during the haunted attraction. It's also home to a very popular Halloween haunted attraction every year, and it's not happening this year. And I find that haunted locations that are used for haunted houses, like the activity seems to be amplified at those locations, and that includes the U.S. Asylum and also the Queen Mary as well.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And yeah, Dark Harbor, which usually is going on during that time, and they do have a haunted house in the Queen Mary as well. You're right, that's not occurring this year. So it'll be very interesting to see what impact that has on top of all the other variables that impact that ship.
So this kind of leads us to our question in the chat room. Keith Bailey, we have a question from our friend Bob Burnell?
Yes, we do. Bob Burnell, our friend. Question for Tony and Cherie. Have you ever got any nasty spirits come through?
Tons.
Yeah, we have. And when we first started out, probably the first 3 years, I mean,
It's actually a combination nasty and good spirits, actually.
Well, we do have a combination of them. Yes, we do. But we've run into some really nasty ones. We did a private home investigation we were called out to in Las Vegas, and wasn't expecting this at all. I mean, it wasn't even a freestanding house. It was a condo.
Right.
But we walked in there, and the first thing we heard was the loudest growl you could even imagine. And my first words were, "Do you have a dog?" And the woman's like, "No, I don't have any pets." I mean, this was so loud, it literally shook the floor. And I'm like, uh-oh. Well, and then we did spirit box session, and the vulgar language that was thrown out at us was shocking. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. Then we caught apparitions or something falling from the ceiling, recorded on camera. But then we also found out she had keys in the house from cells in Alcatraz. She had a Ouija board that was used for some of the worst stuff you've ever seen. Anyway, long story short, we actually had the house exorcised by recommendations from Bishop James Cloud, and then this gentleman came and went 2 or 3 times, I think, to clear it out. But yeah, we've run into some vicious stuff. We ran into some vicious stuff in the underground tunnels underneath La Posada, which had a horrible effect on me. And thank you, Cherie, for pulling me out of that.
I know. I saved your life.
You did great. You're always there. But yes, we've pulled stuff into the house. I remember Cherie and I reviewing evidence right after we had gotten back. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're both sitting on the bed. She was listening to EVPs. I was watching video, and something crossed our bed, and both of our heads followed the exact same direction as it went across. And we had to get rid of that one. That was not nice at all.
All right, so that reminds me of like a crawler, and we were talking earlier, like during the break, about a Copper Canyon with having crawlers. Do you think that like hospitals are more prone, or ships are more prone to have the crawler type entity?
Yeah, possibly. And then you got to wonder, because it's a hospital, the places that you usually see stuff like that are hospitals, asylums, those type of places. But you got to wonder then, is that a spirit that's still experiencing maybe disabilities it had during life, and it's crawling because something was wrong with their legs were crushed, or, even though as an entity you shouldn't be limited by any physical characteristics that you suffered from while alive. But that always comes to my first impression is because it's crawling, is it truly something negative, or is it just experiencing a life that wasn't pleasant and we're seeing reflection of that? But that's a very good point. And those negative entities, I know of 1 or 2 at least that do exist on the Queen Mary. And I think, Sam, you saw some of those photos as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like the photo that Ron Iacovetti presented during my show, kind of blew me away. It basically looks like what I would say possibly a djinn. And for those who don't really know what a djinn is, what's your take on what a djinn is?
To me, a djinn falls in the line of like an elemental. It's a spirit that's looking after certain things in life, and their job is to keep it in balance. And when balance isn't happening, they can get nasty to make sure that stays. So a djinn to me falls in the line of what people consider elemental spirits.
Yeah. So when I saw the photo, I'm like, okay, that's elemental, and I like because Ron said like it's a djinn. I'm like, but like the thing is like it may be like a variation of what like what some people consider djinn. It could be what we consider elemental, but I do think that it's definitely. I got like a soul collector, and I know that
absolutely, and the way it was standing. And whatever it was wearing, I mean, it was wearing like this long, dark robe-like coat or something. I mean, it looked like the Grim Rapier to me.
And Keith, have you had any firsthand experiences with crawlers other than us at Fort Mifflin, right?
Well, there was something at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, which to me is one of the creepiest places I've ever been. And I literally think in that 3-day event, we got one of each of everything you could almost experience in the paranormal, from shadow figures, great EVP, disembodies, people got scratched, dogs and cats from the sky. No, anyway, it was a very active type event, but we actually did have something that a girl screamed because she said this thing was on the floor, like on a skate. You know how a kid would be on a skateboard? She said it was at that level and came like right up to her, and she just turned and ran. So that's the only thing we thought it could be at that level, running.
What I'm finding, what I'm getting from this conversation that's really fascinating to me. So Tony, when you said that possibly the spirit may have had a disability when they were living, so it may be a manifestation of their disability. That totally rocks my perception. I'm like, oh, maybe that's the case, because a lot of hospitals, I've encountered crawlers at hospitals and asylums. So right. Maybe they weren't able to walk.
Right, and maybe what you're seeing is just a reflection of the terrible life that they went through, and whether it's residual or whether it's intelligent, that's a whole nother story. But you got to think if somebody had that type of disability, that might be what you're seeing. But again, those answers. Those questions aren't answered yet, and stuff we're trying to all figure out. And for every answer you get, there's 100 more questions. So it's a long process.
So I don't want to give too much away with the Queen Mary investigation, but do you have anything? Because I really like the approach that you guys took for the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Is it going to be a surprise for what you're going to do for the Queen Mary?
We're gonna do everything we can. We've got like 22 bags of equipment we're bringing. We want to show the audience things they have not seen yet through a Dark Zone Live. We've got equipment that's not been used. We've got parabolic mics we're bringing to capture EVPs. We've got FLIR cameras which will be used that we're going to investigate with to capture thermal images. We've got
it's more action investigation.
Right. We're going to really try to push the envelope to give evidence to the audience, because they're a paranormal community, and we know that's what they're looking for, and it is going to be 100% our goal to bring as much evidence to let them view and see as possible.
What I really like about the Dark Zone, I've been on this is going to be my third one with the Queen Mary. What I love about it is the focus on innovation. And I try to bring, when I do one of the live streams, I try to bring my version of innovation, which is more in the spiritualism, clairvoyant realm. But I love that you guys are bringing innovation to the investigation part of it as well.
Well, thank you. And we got to give the Dark Zone unbelievable credit, because the technology they're using to broadcast these has never been seen before. Mm-hmm. And the ISO cameras that they're using and the live view to transmit the cameraman signal back to the control center, using cell phone technology and renting out a tower in California to be able to make sure this signal is clear for the audience. I mean, it is groundbreaking technology, and nothing like this has been done before. And this should be, I mean, the other two were great, highly recommend them, but this one should even top the other two that have happened so far.
And from what I hear, so Brandon Alvis going to be able to investigate on the vessel as well?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is, and I believe his team will be there as well. So we'll see.
So what I love about this is, so some of the investigators that I look up to when it comes to innovation from a tech perspective is going to be on this investigation as well.
Yeah, they have some amazing people, and the best part is like you said, they've got different ideas, they've got different ways to investigate, and to me that's always been a positive, because you can't all do the same thing or you won't find out anything new. And they have such an array of different investigators with different styles. This should be one of the most amazing experiences that we could possibly imagine.
So Keith Bailey, you've been able to go investigate the Queen Mary with Ben Hansen. Tell me about, I know that you kind of picked up sort of like a party, like a residual party on the vessel, but if you had to investigate the Queen Mary again, what would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend not only some night vision type cameras, but for sure try to get some where you can not only be recording the event, but also trying to another camera with night vision to take pictures. And the reason I say that is that there's moments that camera it's actually faced in some location that you're not going to have another camera, and the ability to get kind of diversely all over that ship. There's so many really hot spots that are on there that in talking with Ben, he just brought us to some of the ones he really loves, but he says, there's so much history of all of this ship. It's kind of all over. I was actually in the dance hall kind of area, and it was so amazing. It almost felt like somebody has come up to you and says, hey, come over here and dance. It's like they're right there, like that festive style is still going. It's not a bad feeling like the old South. It's a happy feeling, like they're just there doing out their time. And we caught some amazing light anomalies that I seriously doubt were either bugs or either dust. They were amazing. So that's the part I would say is to have some cameras, some to record and some to get the pictures for sure.
Yeah, we definitely agree. And yeah, we've got regular vision cameras, we've got night vision cameras, we've got full spectrum cameras. We can cover all three light sources, two of which the human eye can't see. So yeah, we're hoping for good results.
What I also really like about the Dark Zone's approach, it's about giving a voice to the spirits as well. And yes, I do think there's something not human at the Queen Mary, but I also thought the same with the Lizzie Borden house as well. But I think that I'm hoping that the investigators can really focus about giving a voice to the many spirits still lingering on the Queen Mary.
Completely agree. And yes, with their technology, they've got chat rooms. The Dark Zone takes when people catch something, and that's the other great thing about it. You literally have thousands of eyes watching the camera, so nothing gets missed, and they will capture it and they will send it into the. So that's one of the other great parts, is that interactivity with the audience, and the fact that we've got tens of thousands of eyes investigating with us, and they will catch anything that happens. And then of course the Dark Zone can take it and show it to anybody who may have missed it. But that interaction between the audiences is amazing.
And I think that was one of the issues with the last with the Lizzie Borden investigation. I think that they were really wanting more interaction. So the people that were watching, they were wanting to be able to interact with the investigators. And it sounds like that's going to be a focus for this one on the Queen Mary.
That is correct. I know they've made a lot of changes to make sure issues that evolved in either the Conjuring House or the Lizzie Borden have been corrected. And of course, it's a learning process. This is all brand new for them, but they are doing a fantastic job. I give them a ton of credit. And yes, this should be an amazing experience for the audience to interact, be able to, plus they're doing a costume contest. You know, it's Halloween, COVID's still happening. There's prizes, there's bands that are going to be performing. You know, it's a Halloween party virtually, and that's fantastic.
Okay, so Keith Bailey has a question for you.
So both you two know I love you guys, like, I mean, family. I mean, actually, you know, with Jay and Maria out there and all the things you guys do. But I'm interested in the dynamics of married couples investigating together. Is it difficult not to take home the paranormal with you?
Cherie, you want to answer that?
It is. It's tough. It's very difficult for me, I think.
It can be difficult on so many different levels, but luckily, you know, being married, it also gives us an advantage because, of course, we're there to protect each other,
Right.
and most groups are like that anyway. But being husband and wife, you're a little more sensitive to it. Although you can also be more sensitive when you disagree on what an EVP says, and when your wife doesn't speak to you for 3 days after, you know, you probably just should have said, "You're right, honey."
Yeah, for other people, for other groups who's not husband and wife, you know, if they did something that doesn't like, I mean, you can't yell at them. My husband will yell at me all the time, and I don't. But, you know, it's fine by me.
When have I ever yelled at you?
All the time.
Well,
that's why I said all the time.
When you're hooking up the DVR under dripping water from the roof, yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
Okay, so we're seeing it in action now.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't change a thing. And yeah, you know, we do run into some difficulties because we're both very strong and opinionated.
Yeah, there's no drama.
No, there's no drama. And, you know, there's many times I've learned from what she said or what she's saying she's heard and vice versa. So it's a good experience for us.
And she also, it sounds like she saved your life too, Tony.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. Yes, you have.
Okay, so guys, for people to reach out to you, do you have a website?
We do. We can be reached on entityvoices.com. We can be reached on Facebook at Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. We have a YouTube channel. If you search Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, we've got the Haunted Hospital, which is www.coppercanyonprc.com. Any of those places, we can be emailed, reached by multiple different methods.
All right, so Keith Bailey, I want to investigate Copper Canyon with you after COVID.
That would be awesome.
You bet. You guys are welcome anytime. Just let me know.
We've actually been. Tony will tell you as well. I've been chomping at the bits, and obviously my brother that is one of my very best friends, Brandon Alvis, and he wants to bring his camera out there as well, and that's the environment to do it in because that place is amazing.
There's no outside disturbances. It's quiet as can be in there, and it's a freaky place.
2021, it goes down, brother.
Sounds
all
good.
Right, sounds good.
So this has been a fantastic show. We're talking to Tony and Cherie Rathman. Looking forward to the Darkzone.tv event on Halloween. Go to Darkzone.tv for more information. And our website is ParanormalRewind.com. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you next week on Paranormal Rewind.
That sound you hear is the warning bell on my time machine, letting me know it's time to return to our own world and our own time. Hang on.
You've been listening to Paranormal Rewind with Sam Baltrusis and Keith Bailey, the show that transports you back in time and re-examines paranormal pop culture's most terrifying and memorable cases. For more information on the show, hosts, and their upcoming guests, check out their Facebook page at Paranormal Rewind.
There could be some side effects.
Paranormal Rewind, live every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Get the story, behind the story, right here.
Right, because it will hybrid with all those other processors and generate a whole new era of technological darkness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.